hit him with my superhero punch, like bow. And because I'm of a certain age, you got to add power, bow. And if you know, you know. And if you don't, it ain't my job to teach you, just to go back and understand what Black History TV was and what it meant. Pow, bang. When I say black and white, I'm not talking about, I said Black History, but I meant black and white TV. I'm not talking about Black History. I'm talking about the lack of color on filming. That's what I'm talking about. Black and white. Pow, bang is what they used to say when they were punching. Not has nothing to do with guns or none of that. This is TV before CGI and all that other stuff. I'm talking about Batman for y'all young folk who don't actually know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I'm back. Mayor Mundell Robinson, Enfield, North Carolina, hometown, and where I am mayor. But I'm back to talk very little about Enfield, but for it is part of the United States, and to actually talk more about, yeah, bow sock boom. Exactly, exactly. Um, let me welcome everybody who's on Facebook, who's on Twitter, who's on Instagram, who's on Twitch, and also who's on YouTube. What's up, y'all? Make sure that you are subscribing, sharing, and also liking these videos. I'm trying to do more video content because, well, we're in 2026 and the world is on fire. And that is not boy who cried wolf or black man who's screaming bullshit. Really, our world is on fire. And it's not just because of Donald Trump, because the Donald Trumps of the world have always existed. But they've not existed as, they've never existed as president. People that see the world like Donald Trump sees the world have always existed. They've just not existed in the White House as president of the United States, the most powerful office in this country. We've never seen that. So what's new is the fact that this person has the most powerful title in the world. It is not that this person, the way of thinking, we're not naive enough to believe that. We know better. We know better. We also know that there's some things that we need to address. And tonight I wanted to talk about, this is something that's been on my heart heavy. Of course, I know it's election night for 6 states, New Jersey, Montana, Iowa, California. And I know the polls might be coming in as we speak. And I'm certain people are going to let me know in the chat if I missed something. And in some other states, a few other states, New Mexico, and it's a total of like a half a dozen. It's 6 states. But that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about something that happened in 2023, but it was just brought back up because of the verdict, because of the outcome. So I definitely want to talk about what happened in South Carolina in 2023, and then again the verdict that came out yesterday. What up, Franco? I see you, boy. Thank you for joining us on Facebook. If all of my Facebook family, you guys need to share this live. You need to tell people they need to be right here at this moment, because this is the shit you're not going to get from CNN. And if you do hear it on CNN, it's going to be a whitewashed version, or they're going to give time and space for racists to respond. I don't give time and space for racist ideas to exist on this channel. So I want to talk about that, but I don't want to just talk about it in a bubble, talking about the verdict from the case with Chow, who just got got no sentence, and also found to be not guilty, which means he's not responsible for murdering this 14-year-old black boy. I want to talk about that, but not in a vacuum. I want to talk about what it means and how it exists. But then I also want to be who I am, a political creature who understands that everything that happens to black men in these United States is a political action. So I want to tie it to our politics now and of past. Y'all, can I do that? I'm gonna drink some water. I'm gonna let y'all get something to drink. But in a few seconds, I'm gonna start talking about it because the shit is on my heart. What's up, Skyla? I see you in the world. Listen, I hope you got your water. I hope you got your drinks. So for everybody that's been under a rock or not paying attention to the world, the verdict that we were all thought for sure was going to come back as guilty for murder We're talking about the death of Cyrus, of course. Cyrus is a 14-year-old kid who was murdered in 2023. Murdered in 2023. And I know that's a legal term. To be murdered is a legal term. You have to be, someone has to be convicted of it, or at least that's what they want you to believe. They want you to not believe your lying eyes and the facts of the story. But in this case, this young man was murdered. Like we've seen in so many times. 14 years old, that number, that age keeps popping up in our head because we know that age. Emmett Till's age. And this kid was murdered very similar. He went into a convenience store. He picked up, listen to me, guys. I'm not just telling you this because this is my opinion. There's actually video footage of this man picking up 4 bottles of water. There's also video footage of him putting 4 bottles of water back down. Now, for all of you all that can't count, 4 minus 4 is 0. He left the store that's owned by Chow. In the store was Chow and his son. Went outside, accused him of stealing a bottle of water. They accused him of stealing a bottle of water while he was in the store. They followed him out of the store. Chow's son tells his dad, this kid has a gun. The kid is running away. Chow, the owner, this old man, chased this 14-year-old kid. 14-year-old kid more than a football field down the road. More than a football field down the road. 130 or 40 yards, I think he chased this young man. And shot him in the back. And his defense was he was afraid this kid was going to kill his son because he had a gun. This kid had no intentions of using the gun. And we know that because he didn't pull it out. He didn't threaten to pull it out. He didn't threaten anybody with the gun. And he was running and shot in his back. If you are afraid for your son's life, why are you chasing someone? No one, all of the witnesses that were there that day, outside that saw this man chasing this man and in the vicinity of the store, none of them heard this young man threaten Chow's son with that gun. The only person that heard that was Chow. And then eventually his son began to hear it, meaning he was coerced to say that. People want to talk about this. Oh, why did a 14-year-old have a gun? For you all to love white kids and kids shooting guns, it is crazy to me how y'all always got something to say about guns when the person holding that gun is black. That gun had nothing to do with this scenario. He was chased 130 yards and shot in the back. That is a lynching. That is a lynching. People watch that video. They watch that kid put those 4 bottles of water down. So the bottle of water. The punishment for taking a bottle of water is a misdemeanor, probably. Mind you, he did not take a bottle of water. He did not. But he was shot in the back for one. A lie. That's what they want you to believe. The reason this kid was shot in the back was because this Asian brother, Chow, this grown-ass man, knew that this was his opportunity to kill a black boy and nothing would happen. Because this is United States. And there's a track record of black boys being killed in this manner and nothing happening to the person who murders that kid. There's a track record, not just in ancient time, not just in 70 decades ago, not just in 30 years ago, but now. America has a long track record of killing young black boys and nothing happening to people for it. Tamir Rice was somewhere around this age, younger, shot on the playground. The officer that killed him was able to go to another precinct, another police station, and get a damn job. since 1980 to 2012, 40 some 14-year-olds and younger were murdered. Damn near all of them were black boys. Damn near all of them were black boys. Mr. Chow, who operates a store in a community that is majority black, which means he exists. His kids' food, his family bills are paid because of black people, knew that he could murder this black person. I can take your money and still don't see your humanity, and nothing would happen to him. Because that is as American as apple pie. The murdering and killing and dehumanizing of black men is as American as apple pie. So you cannot talk about Mr. Chow's action while he is completely responsible for them without grounding them in America's history. Long history and close, far and near history of killing black boys and black men as if it's sport. You are likely to get more time for killing a dog than you are a black man. This is not hyperbole. This is America's justice system, one that critically overpunish black men, over-sentence us, and then we are overrepresented in all the spaces we shouldn't because of broken political systems, or I should say policing systems, dare I say judicial systems. And we have the audacity to call it our Justice Department or our justice system. Hell no. Ain't nothing just about what happened in this case. Nothing. Nothing. But like I said, we cannot talk about this as if it just happened in South Carolina, in this community that's more than 50% black. Yo, did you hear what I said? The city is almost 50% black. Half of the people there. And this man felt comfortable chasing a 14-year-old down the street and shooting him in the back. This man who had a young teenage son who was in the store chased this up somebody else's kid because there is no humanity attached to being black. There is no humanity attached to being black, especially black boy and black man. And I don't want people to, and listen, I'm a firm believer in everybody has a space and time to feel how they feel. But let's be very fucking clear. Let's be very clear. You can't bring a situation to me that is more dastardly or that shows a country cares less about a certain group of its residents than what it means to be Black American man. And I'm standing on business. And I know some people will be like, oh, what about the black women? What about the black women? I am talking about black men. That is talking to me about black women when I am in charge of an organization that engages black men in the political system. Is almost as if you are trying to turn the eye away from this fire that I'm talking about in this moment. There are plenty of organizations talking about black women. I am not one of them. And to be clear, to be black man in this country is a unique problem. It does not exclude what black women from suffering. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what it means to be black man in the United States of America. And it is uniquely dastardly to be such of a human. If you look at the factors that people measure, talking about quality of life factors, black men are at the bottom of all of those markers. Health, life expectancy, environment, access to civic freedom. And you might say on paper, we all got the same rights constitutionally, but that's just on motherfucking paper. Because in reality, black men have less access to the right freedom of speech, the exercising of his right to vote, and all of the other stuff that equates to civic freedoms, simply because of how we are treated in the judicial system, the education system, and how that affects us long term. What I'm trying to say is majority of black men live in southern states where they have the harshest voting right restoration policies. And since we know that black men are overrepresented in those that are over policed, over sentenced, overcharged, then we know that black men are those who are most distracted or pulled away from their access to the ballot. We also know that black men are more likely to be unemployed than anybody in this country, under and unemployed. We also know that black men have the shortest lives of anybody because of chronic illness. I'm just naming the names. So don't disrupt me and this work and try to derail me talking about another demographic when I'm only focused on the fire in front of me. The fire in front of me. We know that black boys are over sentenced, over policed, and that leads to the fact that we are underrepresented in colleges. 2/3 of the college degrees are going to black women at the bachelor level, and even more when you talk about higher secondary educations, or I should call it not secondary, postgraduate. I'm not talking about no damn mystery. You can't muddy the water here. And this is not a sexist conversation. It is a real conversation. It is a real conversation. It is a real conversation. Black men, 1 in 1,000 likelihood to be killed by cops. 1 in 1,000 black men throughout their life are likely to be killed by cops. Black women is 1 in 33,000. White women, 1 in 55,000. White men, 2,500. And that sounds, when you think about percentages, that difference 2.5% in between black men and white men, and 1.7 for black women and white women, that sounds like small percentages, but those percentages are in thousands of people. So that equates to thousands of black men lives being lost at rates that are unmatched by anybody. By anybody. And so what they'll tell you is, oh, black men didn't vote because they can't see looking up to this type of person, or they can't have this type of person being their leader. But what they won't tell you is that ain't none of them got no motherfucking answers, or did not present any answers to the problems plaguing black men. Those that are affecting their daily lives, the unlikelihood of them being hired simply because how they look, the unlikelihood of them being policed, over policed, even killed at rates that are unmatched by anybody. All of these are political issues that they want black men to ignore, to pretend they don't affect their daily livelihood. But black men keep telling y'all over and over again, we are not falling for that shit. We are not willing to divorce our lived experiences from our politics. What do you mean, Mandela? How do you know that? Well, I'll tell you how I know that. Because there's 9.4 million, if you want to be exact, 9,459,529 black men are registered to vote in these United States. That's right. And of that number that are already registered, don't register nobody else. Listen to me. 3.3 million have not voted in any of the last four federal elections. That means the tens of billions that was spent in 2024, the tens of billions that was spent in 2018, 2022, and 2020. Hundreds of billions of dollars spent. None of y'all could reach the 3.3 million black men that have not participated in any of the election. And then we want to talk about those, if you want to talk about the numbers, only 2 million have voted in all four. So there's a rejection from black men on the way y'all do politics, and you can't hear me because your ego's in the way. Your egos are in the way. You are bothered by how I tell you the truth because you want to believe that sexism is the reason black men ain't participating. It ain't got shit to do with the fact that he's too poor to pay his light bill in your mind, or that he can't get a job because of his name. That ain't, y'all want to say that don't matter. It matters. Life issues matter to everybody else except for black men. That means some people in our community, listen to me, are showing up as anti-black men simply because they fucking want to. And they choose to take that position. You don't have to be anti-black woman to acknowledge the problems with our political system as it pertains to black men. This does not mean I'm blind to what's going on with black women. I'm telling the truth in this moment about a fire that's happening in black men with black men. Y'all can continue on this path in 2026, blaming black men for a faulty fucking system that is not and does not address the problems that are plaguing these brothers and pretending that it's our fault that brothers don't show up. And then on top of that, you don't fund programs that are traditionally grounded in what is black man. And I'm not talking about the few brothers who have college degrees that show up every election. They're already accounted for in your program because you were told to by those brothers who are political creatures. So you see the brothers with college degrees. You see the ones that are rich. You see the ones with money. You see the ones that are influencers that are going viral for shit that y'all want to hear. But what you don't hear is the tears and the invisibility of the ones who are suffering through this experiment called the United States of America. And you guys are getting ready to paint yourselves in red, white, and fucking blue. And all America keeps painting black men as red. Blood. Dying young and younger every year. Chronic health issues. Lack of education. Lack of employment. And you ungrateful motherfuckers. You don't know a man, you don't know a group of men anywhere in this world. You don't know a group of men anywhere in this world more progressive than black men in the United States. If you don't believe me, just look at the statistics. And it's not enough. Brothers are on the outskirts of politics. And y'all continue to pretend that our lived experience, what's happening to us, does not get the count towards what's going on. I'm disgusted in what we call political engagement as it pertains to black men, because y'all continue to listen to the same people. The people who failed and got us here are the ones you all are letting call shots. Nowhere else in the world would the people that are in charge of reaching this demographic would still be in charge, but for in politics, but because it's incestual. Friendships and relationships matter more than effectiveness. Because if it didn't, you could not tell me any business that would say that 9.4 million of their potential customers, a majority of them are not participating in their product. And these people, these politicos, these politicians, and these so-called consultants' business, their product is getting black people to the poll. Yet they are failing epically at reaching black men. I just said an entire third, 3.3 million. If you need the exact number, I can give that to you. But it's 3.3 million black men that are already registered. You don't need to register a single one. They already exist. They're already on the voting roll. And they don't see themselves. Your politics doesn't resonate with the fact that majority of these brothers are driving the number one car that these brothers are driving. I'm talking about this 9 million Ford. That doesn't mean that Ford is a majority of the car, majority of the highest number of cars. These brothers are driving Fords, not Mercedes and G-Wagons. It ain't the shit you see on the internet. They ain't covered in diamonds. Most of them are not managers. Most of them are making hourly wages, not salaries. They're living in houses, overwhelmingly houses that are 2,000 square feet or less. Not mini mansions. You have a fucked up idea of what it means to be black man in America. It is as if you all are living in an America that have you guys are living in an America that has seen black men in the same view that foreigners see black men. And what I mean is you think everybody in this country is getting it. Black men aren't getting it. Not in the way you think. We're getting killed more than anybody. We're getting left behind more than anybody. We're getting excluded more than anybody. And the only voices you all are listening to are the black men that are saying things that you want to hear. You guys have divorced your politics from truth, and it's killing black men. It's killing black boys. Because how come the number one issue always isn't until we stop seeing black boys as being grown or older or bigger or more violent than we see little white boys, then nothing's gonna work. And that is not just white teachers. That study said black teachers were also seeing these little black boys in different lights. So y'all can pretend all you want to. We don't need to guess on why black men aren't showing up to the polls. You guys are the reason. Your strategy fails epically at building relationships beyond I need your vote, I need it now. That's exploitive. You're trying to trick a demographic who has no faith in a system to vote for your candidate as if your candidate is going to save their world. But they have the DNA, not DNA, but the RNA, the intelligence built on the envelope that keeps our DNA is telling these brothers everything from their past says something completely different than what your candidate is saying on their porch, in their mailbox, the day, the month, the week, or the year before an election, because they don't see you doing anything to address the problem that's killing them faster than anybody else. Y'all didn't want to hear this tonight. Y'all didn't want to hear this shit. But I'm gonna be super real with you. I'm over other motherfuckers' feelings, because what I've learned and what I'm seeing is that it's a group of black men. It's a group of black men that's willing to ignore the truth about what it means to black men because they're afraid they're gonna offend somebody. Well, your offense or you're afraid of offense is doing nothing to save these brothers who out here are literally dying. Not dying in the way that you're thinking about dying. And I might not get this contract if I say this. I might not be able to do this or get no invite to CBC. I might not be invited for telling the truth. Why you want to be somewhere where you can't tell the truth about what black people are suffering through? Or is the movement not about all black people? Is it on a certain group of black people we need to be talking about? Some of us in the invisible. That's what it seems like. Our politics look at black men of a certain caliber as an acquired taste. We're uninvited. So y'all go in these rooms with these white people who are giving you money for these organizations, for these people, and pretend. And I heard some people say this, that black men are the white people of black people. Black men ain't the white people of no fucking body. And I'm saying that shit out loud. And I don't care who's offended by it. I said what I said. You can't tell. Go find your favorite political consultant and bring them to this live, and I'll bring them on right now. Go find your favorite consultant and tell them to call me tomorrow, and I'll have this conversation with them in front of anybody. They can prepare for the questions. You don't got to tell me the questions. Meet me at the spot and I'll show up, because you can't tell me that we are to believe that you guys can take $1 billion and spend it in less than 100 days, and less than 3% of it goes to any black people. And you expect black men to be some super demographic that shows up, even though y'all told us it takes more than a year to win an election. But now, because you, George Clooney, white man who ain't been around, ain't donated a single dime since he made Biden drop out the election, and y'all ain't got no fire for Joe. Where's George Clooney? Where's the fire for George Clooney, who made y'all change candidates 100 days before an election? He ain't did nothing since then. He ain't said nothing politically since then. And he's still sitting comfortable in his house in Lake Como or wherever the hell he lives. Y'all allowed a white man who ain't voted for Democrats in the majority since black people been allowed to vote in the 60s. And what I mean by since the 60s is because when the Voting Rights Act, even though it looked like it may be gone again, y'all gave the power to George Clooney to get rid of Biden. And then you want to tell black men, oh, well, you know, because less of y'all showed up, you're responsible for this. Black men are responsible for $1 billion being spent, and most of it going to white consultants. So the white consultants don't get They don't get blamed at fucking all. Where's your autopsy report on what white consultants are costing us every election? When are you guys going to get brave and demand more from a party that only wins because of our vote? When are we going to say, hell no, no more of this shit? When are we going to say majority of the money needs to be spent with people that care? When are we going to get a fraction of what they get? I'm asking you all, because y'all continue to blame black men. I remember when the article came out when Stacey Abrams ran for governor the first time. It was Boston Globes. A sister wrote this article. And I reached out to this sister several times. And I try to get her, sis, you gotta add context to your article because it's not fair to black men. And what I said, she wrote the article and said black men, I can't remember the line because it's been so long. So basically, she was saying black men sold out Stacey Abrams because they didn't turn up for her. But overwhelmingly, black men showed up for Stacey Abrams. 13% of black men did vote against Stacey Abrams. But let me tell y'all something. In that same year, one state beneath Georgia is Florida. There was a black man running for governor, Andrew Gillum, and 20+% of black women voted against Andrew Gillum. And there was no article saying that black women turned their back on Andrew Gillum. So I just asked that sister to please add that context. That national story has never been written. That story was never written. So I'm telling y'all, we got to be smarter. We got to be smarter and tell the truth. If you guys are upset with politics and if you want to really blame somebody, at least fund the work to reach them before you say, oh yeah, this group is, write this group off because they're just this or that. But you ain't spent a dime. None of y'all ain't demanding anything to support a demographic that is telling you your politics is killing me, not fixing my problems. Your politics are my problems or the root of my problems. Policing problems weren't fixed when Democrats were in power. They didn't use their power overwhelmingly like the Republicans are to do harm, to do good. The Democrats can do as forceful as the Republicans are, but would do good and benefit everybody. That ain't what they did. They didn't codify Voting Rights Act. They didn't codify that. They had plenty of opportunities to do that when they were in power. They didn't. So you guys are blaming black men for the failures of billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars of political bullshit. And that is a fact. That is a fact. And if you tell me money don't matter, then why y'all raising billions of dollars for elections? If money don't matter, why y'all keep spending it with the same consultant class? These so-called expertise. And if these are your expertise and you keep funding them and they keep not turning out a majority of black men, aren't we going to say something about that? There's not been a single, listen to this, y'all. I'm frustrated. I don't want to give away all the data because I'm gonna do a data rollout probably at the end of this week about black men in America. But I'm over this idea that we're gonna sit back and let this bullshit about black men just flow. Just flow. This is not to say that there are no toxic ass black men. Let's get serious. There are tons of toxic ass black men, just like there are a ton of toxic ass every other man and every other people. I'm not arguing that point. I would never argue that point. My point is it is childish. It is unserious. It is ahistorical. And it is not beneficial to say that our political problems with black men is black men. That when do we blame the system? Why? The only black group that made $1 million or more from Kamala Harris' campaign was a taxi driving company from Delaware. Not people that reach voters, not people that create strategy for voters. One organization out of $1 billion, one black organization, and they were taxi. They were a limo company, but basically taxiing people around for the campaign. And you want to tell me that accounts for a perfect effort or even a good effort or even an effort at all? Are we not allowed to criticize that continues to fail black men and then we keep getting blamed for it? Am I to continue to sit silently and pretend I don't know the truth about how fucked up y'all are and these systems are? How y'all sit around at bars and wait for rich white people to give you access to these conventions, and they have private meetings deciding who they're gonna fund and who they're not gonna fund, and you don't get invited into space until they say you can come in? How they make you jump all over this place to the most expensive hotels in the most expensive cities they choose to have their events at, and you get out of their 3-day conference, you get 30 minutes to show up. You can come there early, but you can't come into the conference. You're not going to tell people that. You're not going to tell people how these people have no expertise. They just pick and choose based on who they like, which campaign they going to run, who they going to support. Oh, there's too many trade secrets. I'm talking about too many trade secrets. How y'all just dance around for these motherfuckers. You show up and smile in the face of people you know don't know shit about shit. But because they're white and connected to money or have money, then you pretend that it's necessary to shuck and fucking jive because these people can call the riches of black people or the riches of white people. And you think that's the important part? You think their KPIs their key performance indicators need to be the ones we're following instead of pushing back on? Nah, that shit is killing black men, and I'm saying it out loud. The current state of politics, and I don't give a fuck about what's going on the Republican side. I'm talking about our side of the house. Our side of the house. The current state of politics is killing us. And yes, I'm cursing a lot because I'm frustrated. Our side of the house. Our side of the house. Our side of the house is jacked up. And we got too many people in all spaces that have access that look like us that ain't doing our bidding because they want to continue to get invited back to those spaces. They don't want to be in there to make a fake. And when I show up, as I show up, they call me, the black people call me an acquired taste. It's a dig for my people who know that being an acquired taste is a good thing. It's good when everybody that they don't care about your people don't like you. That's a good thing. But in those spaces, you say that as code for telling a white person he's a problem Negro. And a black man said it. A black man said that to a white person, and the white person brought it back to me. The white woman said, "You know, this person said that about you." So I made a shirt called Acquired Taste, and I offered that brother one of those shirts just to let him know that you think you good over there talking shit about me to these white people, and they bringing it back to me because I don't. I'm not gonna dance for nobody. And I'm not saying everybody that's getting or doing this work is shucking and jiving. That's not what I'm saying. I am saying it is a hard sell to tell brothers from brothers who are on the margins who are living this life. I would be a sucker if I told those brothers everything in the world is going right and the only reason we're not voting is our fault. That's me lying to them. And the brothers that they like, the only brothers they like are those soft-spoken pussy ass. I almost said something. The brothers that they like, the brothers that they like are the ones that's gonna tap dance. And I said that and I mean it. And if you're offended by it, look in the mirror because I'm talking to you. And those who ain't offended by it, you know exactly what I'm talking about and probably who I'm talking about. Because it ain't that many of us in this space. And I'm not saying everybody in this space shows up like that, but you know who you are. You know what you're willing to say. Oh, I can't say that. That might mess up the bag. Gotta get the bag, gotta make sure the bag good. Or you try to remix what I say in a way that's more polite. You know who you are. I'm over it. I'm over it. Another 14-year-old black boy just murdered. His family just had to sit in that courtroom and be told that the person who shot your son in the back is not guilty. Another black man is holding his wife tonight because they listened to a so-called jury of their peers tell an Asian man that you had the right to shoot this young black boy in the back. This is not the 50s, but black men are still strange fruit. And our politics are directly linked to it. And it is improper, illogical, and it's ridiculous for us to pretend that it's not. It is absolutely not okay for us to be in this current state where people can spend hundreds of millions of dollars on elections and we still see this many of black men not feeling comfortable enough to participate, not having enough reason to participate. And you can't boogeyman scare black men and, oh, Trump's going to be president and your life's going to be ruined. We are already having the shortest and worst lives anyway. What do you tell someone who is only surviving? What do you tell? Oh, you might not be able to eat. We already can't eat. We already can't eat. You might not lose. You might not have a job because of DEI cutbacks. We couldn't get a job before DEI was a thing, during DEI, and after it's over. What do you tell people who are living? You're going to tell people not to believe their truths? What they're living through? That's what you're going to tell people? You're going to tell people that their experience makes them sexist? We know that there are sexist men in this world. We know that misogyny is a real thing and horrible and fucked up. We know that. But you can't tell me that accounts for all of the people who are choosing to sit out elections, black men specifically, when they are living on the margins. And we need to say that. We need to say that. And people are afraid to say that. People are afraid to say that. They're gonna call me what they're gonna call me anyway. So I figured I need to say it. I do. I'm gonna stick to the numbers so I don't get emotional and make this personal. There are 9,445,529 black men registered to vote in this country. Of them, 7,400,000 are registered Democrat. Another 1.4 million are registered nonpartisan. Only 400,000 of the 904,000 are registered Republican. That's it. That's it, guys. But what they will make you believe is that everything I'm telling you that is based on fact, not their feelings, is false. They want you to believe that black men are becoming more conservative. They're sexist. They don't want to tell you that their way of politicking is broken. That they choose black men that they're comfortable with being around. They don't want to tell you that their politics is as scared of black men as they are. And all of them ain't white. Some of them look like us. Some of them look like us. Some of them are black men. Some of them are black men. And I need y'all to understand that I am not joking when I'm telling you. If we are serious about addressing the problems that's plaguing us, we need to be able to expand the electorate and include this 3.3 million black men who have not voted in any of the last 4 federal elections. Do you hear me? Not any of them. Not any of them. Not any. Not any. Only 2 million have voted in all 4 of the last 4 elections. That ain't a group of people that are lazy. That's a group of people, 7 million people who are screaming, help, help, help. Your politics don't seem like a bomb, BALM, to what's plaguing the people in Gilead. In this case, the Gilead, the people that are there are black men, for those who need a biblical reference without the cursing. For those who believe that the black church is the answer, even though black men don't go to church anymore. 90% of black men don't belong to church, yet they still talk about black pastors. I've got nothing against pastors at all. At all. Spent time at Wake Forest Divinity School. I have nothing against black pastors. I am telling you about the reality of being black men in this country. Majority of black men do not belong to a Divine Nine organization. I know brothers who don't know what Divine Nine is. Divine Nine has an important role to galvanize and organize the brothers in those ethos, in that sphere. It is not the mechanism that's going to save black men. If you're offended by that, then you're just not living in the reality that is black man in this country. Taking white people with cameras and women with cameras to the barbershop is not going to save black men. You're not going to get the posts of what's going on with black men. And you can keep posting those stupid ass pictures with your candidate in the barbershop, a white man or a black woman or anybody. Does not matter. When you are a stranger, woman, white man, or anything, when you walk in a barbershop, you are not getting the conversation that's going to happen as soon as you and those cameras leave. That is a safe space. It does not change when you walk in there. Brothers will say what they need to say in front of you. You are not getting the real conversation. That is not the nature of barbershops. People ain't gonna be rude to you. It's just you're not getting the conversation. Also, by the way, majority of the people in there are not the people that are paying $40 and $50 for haircuts are not starving, are not living on the margins. Not to mention you got to tip the barber too. But y'all ain't stopped to think about that. It looks good in the picture. But if you want to take a picture, take your camera and your candidate and sit with these Crips and Bloods and these GDs and have a conversation with these brothers and see what they got to say to you. Roll your sleeves up and go out there. Put on a blue or red or brown hoodie and go talk to those folk. Go tell those people about business opportunities or organizing. Since nobody can organize black men, but they're already organized over there. And if you got a problem with those so-called toxic family systems that are gangs or street tribes, then think about what climate in America would force a person into that life. What climate that your political system created? Who created Petey Green? Who created Watts? Who created Atlanta Southwest, the SWATs? Who created it? Which black person's policy created any of those? Which black person is responsible for what the Bronx was? You can't tell me because there's nobody responsible for it that looked like these brothers. Yet y'all want them to disconnect themselves from all of reality to go along with what y'all want them to go along, because y'all gonna say some shit like your ancestors are dependent on you. Or do you know how many people died so you can vote? Y'all are the same people. The shit y'all say y'all don't even think about. It's equivalent to telling a homeless person, oh, save this money I'm giving you to go on vacation. That's how it sounds when you tell somebody that's a black man living on the margins that this candidate is going to fix their problems. Y'all don't want it. Y'all ain't listening. There are more black men on this planet right now than there ever was in the history of this country. There are more black men in America right now than there ever was. And they're sitting out elections. The rate, it's so scary to me. Someone who understands the path, the history. 30 years after the passage of the 15th Amendment, about 21% of black men were voting. Right now, the percentage of brothers who are super voters voted in every election is damn near that same number. It's that same number almost. We need to get serious about our politics. We need to demand more from those who say they speak from us. And we need to stop that. We need to make sure that people understand we are not allowed to minimize famous people. That's not what we're trying to do. But famous people cannot pretend that they speak on our behalf when it comes to our politics, when they're not fucking serious about learning what it means to be politically active and black. We cannot allow that. We don't have time, nor do we have the political capital for it to be wasted on somebody famous who white people are going to hear them say something and start chasing them and then act like this is what a black stance is. We need to shut that shit down before it becomes anything. Every time. Every time. Because if not, we risk 2024 being our constant reality. We risked 3.3 million black men not voting in the next 4 federal election. We risk there never being more than 2 million black men who are super voters, meaning they vote in every election. This is a rejection of your politics by this demographic. And the sad part about it is when they do vote, they vote for black issues more than anybody else. On par with nobody when it comes to men and right behind black women. Yet, you don't feel the need to see the human in them and understand what they're suffering through. What do you think you're telling black men? What do you think the message is to black men when you say that the only reason it's valid to not vote for Sister Kamala is you're sexist? That can't be it, dog. We can't risk the conversation being that simple. Do we not get to talk about the fact that $1 billion was spent in 100 days? And none of it, in a real way, went to black consultants, specifically those, not even consultants, black organizations that are really doing this work. And I'm not talking about the organizations y'all choose, the ones y'all comfortable being around. I'm talking about the ones that really speak for people, the ones that people really depend on. Not the ones that y'all like. When I'm talking about y'all, I'm talking about the political class. This is a conversation it's a conversation for everybody, but it's at the political class and their failures. You're failing people that can't afford to be failed. Black men for decades have been falling behind when it comes to education. And it's not because we're lazy. It's because we're targeted. As early as preschool, black boys be getting suspended and expelled at rates that are unmatched. They're still lynching black boys like they did Emmett Till. Black men are still being incarcerated like they were enslaved, working for dollars and pennies a day. And you can't tell me, well, they all deserve it because they broke a law, because black men are over 50%, while we are a small portion of the population, we're over 50% damn near of the people who are exonerated for being wrongfully convicted. Did you hear what I just said? I think the number of black men that were exonerated from death row were like, all the people exonerated were like 33% were black men off death row. That means these brothers were facing a life sentence for some shit they didn't do. And you want them to pretend that your policies, your politicians, your electoral strategy isn't failing them? They don't get to question your motives. They don't get to ask you why they should vote. You don't owe them a conversation. That demographic, the demographic that are being killed, targeted as early as preschool, they don't get to ask a question. The demographic that can't get a job, that has the shortest life, not just the people in America. You have to go to places like South Sudan to find somebody with a shorter life than Black American men. All of the social factors, the markers for what makes you, what is it? What do they call it? Quality of life shit? What is it? Huh? Anybody call it? What is it? What are they? What are they? Let me look it up for you. Give me a second. Quality of life factors. What are they? Y'all sit right there. Don't go no damn where. Don't take your ass nowhere. Social. Here we go. What are the social markers for quality of life? Health, education, social connection, civic freedoms, and environment. Those are the social markers. Those are the social markers for quality of life, y'all. Did you hear what I just said? Did you hear that? Did you hear that? So if I'm wrong, then you're telling me that Black men don't have higher rates of police stops. We know stop and frisk is a real thing. Searches, arrests, and use of force. We know this. We have higher incarceration rates, not because we commit more crime, just because we are easier on the conscience to sentence. Black men, white men use drugs, sell drugs at similar rates. We just represent over 70% of those arrested and sentenced for them. We have greater likelihoods to be convicted of felonies. That, and we live in southern states more. So that means our right to vote is being stripped. That's a social factor, right? Shortest lives. That's a social factor. Education. I just said we're targeted from elementary, preschool. From the age of preschool on up, suspended and expelled more. In school suspension more. That's education, right? So I'm just trying to tell you, all of this is happening, and y'all don't want us to consider any of that in our politics? You're going to tell me that demographic that suffers through these social markers, these are the quality of life things that Black men did not name. We didn't name these. This is what it means to have a healthy quality of life according to y'all standards. According to y'all standards. And y'all are telling me that Black men don't get to question none of this? That's what we're saying? Come on, y'all. Come on now. Am I crazy? Am I crazy? Am I crazy? We got to do better if we are to engage Black men, or y'all just stop talking to us altogether, because the shit you guys got going on is causing serious harm to the work that some of us who truly care. This is brother, most of y'all probably ain't never heard of him, but I'm telling you, you should go follow him. Brother named Mike Bland. I'm so happy that brother is at Black Men Vote right now. Before this year, me and Mike Bland probably had maybe a conversation in passing, but since we've sat down and talked, and this brother's anger at what's happening, what's being labeled as Black male engagement, is enough for me to make sure I listen to what he has to say, even if he disagree with me. Because his intent is not malicious. He cares about this demographic in a way that people don't. And if you're too small inside of you to tell the truth, because it may cost you $1 or 1,000 or 10,000 or whatever number, then you shouldn't be pretending that you're speaking on behalf of a demographic who's suffering more than most. That's cold-blooded. That's trash. That's tacky behavior. We got to do better. We have we have to make sure that we're understanding that what we are owed as a people, what we're owed as a people, what we're owed as a people is humanity at the very least. It's humanity at the very least. And that to show up and say or relegate Black men's discomfort with a system that don't see us, discomfort with the people who don't see us, a system that continues to kill us at rates that are unmatched, continues to make sure that we're undereducated at rates that are unmatched, continue to lock us up at rates that are unmatched. That is dehumanizing. And you don't have a strategy. You don't have a political strategy that's successful enough or strong enough to overcome the dehumanization of a demographic, especially not in one election cycle, especially when your actions continue to mimic what they've always mimicked. You choose this soft approach to reaching Black men. And I'm not talking about soft in the context of it's what make you feel comfortable, not what make them feel seen. It's what's making you feel comfortable, not what's making us feel seen. And because the Black men that you talk to are well off or college educated or belong to a group that you don't know about, but it matters to them, you think that you got it made. You're doing what you're supposed to do for Black men. You're not. We are failing brothers. We are failing brothers. We are failing brothers. And we need to make sure that we understand that in this moment, if we are to be allied with Black men, if you're not a Black man and you want to be allied with Black men, it is not enough to say or ever begin a conversation with Black men, political or otherwise, by saying your ancestors died so you can vote. You are not paying attention to what those brothers are suffering through. And that is not a helpful way to exist. It is, I'm telling you. Let me share some of these comments with y'all. Pedals and Passport, what's up? It says, facts, as a former GED teacher in a male prison, my heart was saddened to finally see so many Black men locked up. It's one thing to read the statistics and a whole other thing to see it in real time. That's a fact. That is a fact. It is devastating. And to believe that it does not matter, to believe that these people have been disappeared, meaning put in prisons, isolated, put in holes, and put in systems that are inhumane, and that it does not affect the rest of us. It's crazy to believe that it does not have a negative impact, to believe that it does not leave a stench on all of us. It's crazy. Not to even mention Pedals and Passport, that when these brothers are set free, they're not set free. Some housing they don't qualify for. Some housing they don't qualify for. Some government funds for school they don't qualify for. And then whenever they apply for a job, they got to put that F every time. Double jeopardy is when you have a felony conviction, when you've done your time or your probation, you satisfy the terms, and you still don't get full acceptance back into society. That's real life. Catch My Whiff said, I'm fed up with the consultants. I think the consultants clipped Kamala's wings and forced her to change her approach to the campaign. Listen, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this again. We know that consultants determine what the strategy more than candidates. And people don't know this. The people that have never worked on campaigns don't understand this. There are strategists that create the messaging. There's posters, there are strategists who do all of this. So we absolutely are required to address the fact that consultants failed us in this race, especially when they didn't say, hey, we're the black consultants. We're the black men that are not traditional black men. And for those who say there was a black man who was number 2 in that campaign, I'll just tell you what I've been saying my entire political life. Just because somebody looks like us, don't mean they're speaking on our behalf. I said what I said. Another one from Catch My Whiff said, Trump and the GOP are trying to rewrite history. Rewrite history. Rewrite history. I can't wait until he's gone. We have a lot to clean up to do. Listen, unfortunately, I'm gonna put that comment back up there because I want people to think about this. And you're absolutely right that they are trying to rewrite history, and that's a funny point, but it means so much, because if you think about what you're saying, rewrite, like as in the double pun here, is like rewrite, and then rewrite as in take it back to a time when white people were the only people that people believed were a part of history. So I get that. I love that play on words, but it's also a different type of rewriting history. And that goes to this idea that whatever white people do and say is right. What do I mean by that? Yeah, we had people step in right now and kill the slush fund, but the idea that people were about to be paid to be insurrectionists cannot be divorced from the fact that white people are still in love with the Confederate. That's the same behavior. People act like they are so people act like they are so in love. Think about this now. People act like they're so in love with patriotism and our soldiers and our troops. But the army that killed more American troops in a war, more than any other, were the Confederates. I think 700 plus thousand American troops were killed by Confederate soldiers. And those who believe that American history tells us something other than the Confederates stood for slavery have never read what the Confederates themselves actually said. They actually said themselves that they were separating from the Union because of slavery. The Northern states' failure to uphold the returning of black bodies back into slavery was the main reason. Mississippi said it, Texas said it, North Carolina said it, South Carolina said it, Georgia said it in their documents. So not this revisionist history. Not that. So anybody that can't connect the dots from the fact that the Confederates and white people's love for Confederates is no different than the J6 is about to get 1.8 billion. Yeah, they stopped it now, but it's still your tax dollars are still being spent on white supremacy. Donald Trump is giving no big contract to his friends. Donald Trump, his kids, and his entire network are making billions and billions of dollars. Donald Trump is now talking about expanding the America's drone. And it's not just because drones capacity is necessary for our war. It's because his sons, his 2 elder sons, started a drone company, and they're about to get contracts with the military. Elon Musk, y'all were bragging and happy, celebrating that Elon Musk was no longer part of the federal government, but Elon Musk SpaceX just got 2 multi-billion-dollar contracts last year. Multi-billion-dollar contracts. Elon Musk is about to take SpaceX public, and it's about to be evaluated at about $1 trillion. The only company at first in the world. It's about the public. It's about to go public, and you ain't even gonna be able to say in how he runs that company. $1 trillion, and the value is mostly government contracts. The inefficiencies we see in the government, the death, the Ebola outbreak, all of that is tied to this administration. I'm not just saying shit that does not matter. When we disarmed USAID, this is what happened. We were fighting diseases all over this country. We were saving lives. There have been more than 300,000 deaths of kids that have been related to the cutting of funds for the USAID. The rewriting of history is happening in real time. The sad part about it is I don't know if we can fix it. Catch my whiff. I don't know if we can fix it. Not easily, for sure. Let's see. I'm properly influenced. 453 said white supremacy holding hands with white evangelical Christians, holding hands with capitalism, equal America. 100%. And it ain't just started equal America. That math has been math, and that's old math. I know the kids in school doing new math, but improperly influenced. This is definitely, that's old math. And it's been that way for a long time because there is no difference between white supremacy and white evangelicals. If you consider yourself a white evangelical in the nature of Billy Graham, who so-called American preacher who had segregated revivals, think about that. You up there doing the work of Jesus Christ, God. You're doing the work of God, Jesus Christ, his Father, and you had segregated revivals. Black people can't come down to the bottom. And they call you Americans preacher. Yeah, that is white Christianity is white supremacy, is capitalism, is American. Because it is not hard to understand. James Baldwin, James Cone, and so many others who thought and talked so much about Black theology knew and understand that in order to understand Jesus and his mission, then you had to understand that the cross and the lynching tree are not separate. The cross and the lynching tree are not separate. There is no separating the lynching tree from the cross and Jesus bearing. Jesus existed solely. The only thing he talked about was the least amongst these and how you showed up for them. Everything else is some shit that man wanted you to believe. It's real easy. It's real easy. Anthony, what's up, man? Mondale, you are one of the few Black progressives I feel understand the plight of Black men, and you for just talking at us. Listen, I think, and honestly, let me put that back up there, brother. And honestly, I get what you're saying. I want to say thank you so much because you always typed in and you seem like an extremely smart. I sometimes stalk your page just to see what you're going to say about certain issues. I appreciate that. But I think here's what's dastardly about this comment, brother. I feel like I'm not one of the few Black progressives that understand the plight of Black men. I'm one of the few Black progressives that's speaking about it. I think so many of them will just put their head down and don't give a damn because they'll choose check over saying, oh, actually, let me go a step further. Actually, what you're saying could be absolutely correct because you can't be a progressive if you choose money over policies. If you and I'm gonna say that right now, we should make that a thing. Anybody that's willing to sacrifice any marginalized people, you cannot call yourself a progressive. I don't care if you support same gender marriage. I don't care if you support Black Lives Matter. I don't care if you are willing to sacrifice any marginalized people, you cannot call yourself a progressive. I like that. That thought just came from you, Anthony. Thank you. You are not a progressive if you sacrifice any marginalized people. We should definitely roll with that. See some more comments before I hop off. Yeah, that verdict. Listen, guys, we started out the show. Hi, Skylar. We started out the show talking about the verdict in South Carolina with Mr. Chow, who murdered. I'm not gonna say killed. He murdered that child. He murdered that 14-year-old child by chasing him. Guys, 130 yards is longer than a football field. You chase that man. That is 390 feet. 3 feet in a yard. That's 390 feet to shoot him in the back. And you're saying that you cried defense of your son? We we got to get serious. You can't tell me America sees value in black male life when this is our reality so often. I just told you between 1980 and 2012, 40, 40 14-year-olds and younger were murdered by police. And majority of them, 27 of them, were black boys. 27 were black boys. Yeah, that verdict, you cannot untie that verdict from that situation, from Tamir Rice, from George Floyd, from Eric, from all of the black men who are murdered by the system. And y'all might say, well, Mr. Chow was not a police officer. His power, his understanding what it means when you kill, he would have never chased a white 14-year-old down the street. He would have never shot a white boy in the back. He would have never. The devaluing of black life does not start in that situation. It ended with the murder of Cyrus. It started a long time ago. It started a long time ago. What's up, Mayor Elliott? Mayor Elliott, shout out to Mayor Elliott, another champion, y'all doing the Lord's work over there in Vance County. Yeah, sister, and that's our home state. North Carolina is where Billy Graham had those segregated revivals, and people can act like, oh, that was forever ago. No, Billy Graham existed in my father's life. My father was alive during it. My mother was alive during Billy Graham. So everybody's history matter except for ours. Everybody, you can sing country songs about childhood and how you want to go back. Rascal Flatts talking about I miss Mayberry, sitting on the porch. And this ain't no dig at Rascal Flatts. I'm just saying everybody want to be nostalgic about their past, but black people are not allowed to remember the trauma associated with being black in their parents' lifetime. We're told never to forget 9/11, but we're always told to forget slavery. Jewish people are told never to forget the Holocaust, but we're always told to forget slavery. Also, black people didn't stop being discriminated when slavery ended. Did you forget about Jim Crow? Did y'all forget about Jim Crow? Yeah, they had Jesus and Jesus and segregation. Jesus and segregation. Jesus and segregation. Let's see what this one say. Improperly influenced said, I blame Democrats for Donald Trump as much as I blame Republicans. They both have forgotten the people. Listen, I think there's definitely blame to go around. I think the Democrats' role is the lack of commitment and push and follow through and fight. The fight led to some people being disassociated or disoriented about politics and not willing to put their face on the line again for them. So I think in that way there is a blame. But I don't want people to ever think that I'm saying Democrats and Republicans are equal, because right now in this moment in 2026, the Republicans are anti-black, anti-brown. They are racist. The Republican is no different than the neo-Nazis. And somebody say that's a broad brush or that might be too far. It can't be too far. You can't tell me Donald Trump's policy are not anti-black intentionally. Black generals were not being promoted. And the reason was directly someone was told Donald Trump will not want to stand next to a black person. Someone who has fought and given their entire life to your military. Your military. And that's y'all push. Y'all are not patriots. Y'all are not patriots. Y'all don't care about black veterans. And that's the history of America too. When brothers came home from World War II, they couldn't use the GI Bill. They couldn't use the Veterans Home fees or loans. They couldn't do that. And people didn't give a damn. They still made brothers in uniform sit at the back of the bus. You go in and fight for our white brothers in Europe's right and sisters' right for freedom, but you're gonna come back home and not have it your damn self. You can't tell me black men don't have the right. What's up, Randy? Good to see you, fam. You can't tell me black men don't have the right to be pissed off. You can't tell me. Come on. Come on. Mayor Elliott said y'all are weaponizing plea bargains, and she ain't wrong. And anybody that knows anything, I'm gonna say it again, anybody that knows anything about the justice system understand that they try to get people, they charge them crazy charges and then try to get them to plea out. Oh yeah, just take this plea and then you'll get probation or something. You'll get less time. Instead of 20 years, you're now facing 5 years. So people are worried because they know if they go to court, they're likely to lose. Not because appointed legal counsels are inadequate. It's just because they're overworked and swamped because they don't fund that system like they fund the DA office. I feel like whatever you get a DA in an area, you should get the same thing to the appointed lawyers. They should have the same amount of resources. So you're right. They definitely overuse that. Listen, if we Isaac Woodard was a horrible situation. Horrible. But I think, when we start thinking about this is just, it's just what I'm saying. I when I was in Arkansas, I remember Isidore Monroe, I think was his name. Isidore Monroe. Public Defenders is the name. Isidore Monroe was this old black man in his house, hard of hearing and almost blind. Hard of hearing and almost blind. In his house, on his bed. Cops killed him. Cops killed him. Black man. This man survived segregation and all of the craziness of Jim Crow, only to be killed in his house. I think he was like 90 something. 90 something. Killed him. Yeah, man, there's an Isaac Woodard situation probably in every city in this country. Think about it. Said Petals and Passports said they can't deport us, so they're trying to erase us. I think, listen, Donald Trump is definitely floating the idea that if people get convicted of felonies, they should be deported. I heard him say it since he's been reelected. That's something that he has said. And I think the truth of the matter is the Constitution said we can't be deported, but Donald Trump has a history of not listening to it. We see him not giving a damn. Yo, what up, family? What up, family? What up, family? Listen, shout out to my YouTube family. I see y'all. Y'all make sure y'all. I'm telling you, I'm back. I'm back regularly. I'm back. I know you was watching the elections. I know how it is. But we're wrapping up in pretty soon, or maybe we're not. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we're not. We're back on that. We're back in our mood where we might, like it's COVID again. Might be up here for 3 hours talking to my family about the issues of America and this so-called democracy that don't look shit like a democracy. If what's going on in America right now, what's going on in any other country, this country will be talking trash about it and saying it's not a democracy. If the president was sending people from his administration out to other states in other countries, taking up voting rolls, saying that we need a national voting roll so that we can decide who gets a mail-in ballot, we would be talking trash about that country. We would be calling that person a henchman or a strongman. Think about that. If a president, any other country, had made as much money, billions, as Donald Trump and his family in a year off of governments, we would lose our mind. If the president of any other country would have took a jet as a gift, a personal gift from another country, we would call that corrupt. If a president would have went on national TV and said, I'm going to kill everybody and blow them back up to the Stone Ages, we would call that person an international war criminal. So why is Donald Trump not an international war criminal? For what's going on in Iran, for supporting a war without cause. You can't tell us that you bomb their point. You bombed them last year so that they have no military might or no opportunity to create. You told us you totally destroyed their nuclear site. And then you came back this year after Benjamin Netanyahu requested you to and start bombing them people with no approval from Congress. And now we are worse off and Iran is stronger than ever. You're telling us now that their military had been wiped clean. Yet we see today that Iran sent missiles. They launched missiles. You said their Air Force had been completely destroyed. You and stupid ass Pete Hegseth said their military, their Air Force was obliterated, gone. Yet they sent missiles and drones at the same time into Kuwait and Bahrain. Why does that matter? Why am I talking about Kuwait and Bahrain? Well, first of all, it's humans there. Second of all, they're American troops. We have bases there. And what the Pentagon forgot to tell y'all last week, y'all didn't hear this because the Pentagon buried this story when they told you Iran missile was shot out the sky. They didn't tell you that missile almost hit American bases, and it was so fucking close to American bases that when they blew it up, when they intercepted the missile, American troops on the base still got injured by the shit falling out of the sky. That story nowhere. Why has CNN not told you that? Why don't we know that? Why is that not big news? Several people and contractors, military personnel and contractors were hit by falling missiles. That's how close they were to the base. From a military that's supposed to be destroyed. What we've done is empower Iran forever, letting them know that they don't need much drones and small boats to shut down the Strait of Hormuz. That's what we've showed them. We've also showed the rest of the world that America military may be strong, but it is not all powerful. It is not all powerful. And I still stand by my statement that the Middle East is where Western governments go to fall, to collapse. We in America like to say that Ronald Reagan and his administration was the fall of the USSR. For people that don't know, the USSR was what Russia is. Well, it was a conglomerate of other nations that have now separated. Some of them no longer in existence. Some of them changed their name. But the Eastern Bloc, what it was. But we like to say that when he said Gorbachev turned on that wall, that was the reason that the USSR failed. That is not the case. What killed them was the amount of money they were wasting in Afghanistan, and they could not win Afghanistan. They could not defeat Afghanistan. The Middle East is where empires go to die. It is where empires go to die. And this may be the end or the beginning of the end of America's this so-called exceptionalism. That's why I put this up here. Catch my website. American exceptionalism is something we need to address. Being proud is good, but we can't continue to convince ourselves we're the best place on the planet with the best people. First of all, the only people that believe that shit are people who've never read a book, who've never understood quality of life. We're not the best at math. We're not the best at science. Most of our great inventions come from fucking immigrants. People don't want to talk about that. Um, um, we don't have the most blue zones. We don't even have free healthcare. We're the only place in the world that's developed where people are actually going bankrupt because of healthcare. Yeah, there's no exceptionalism called America. That's just a lie. It's connected to the lost cause. You can believe that all you want to. I've been to places where people have a lot less things, have a lot less material things, but their quality of life is way better than ours. Way better. Shit, not to mention, yeah, I mean, like the gun situation, right? Not to mention, I mean, we don't even need to start talking about America's love for guns. We have more gun death than anywhere. No developed nation comes close to us. Nowhere. We absolutely have more guns than cars per person, for sure. So I promise you all, there's no thing called American exceptionalism beyond the shit that the paper that people write it down on this or the shit you hear on Fox News. How is it exceptional? Have you been to Appalachia? Have you been to rural parts of the Black Belt in these United States? Have you been out to the rural parts of Kentucky, remote parts of West Virginia? The 7, 8 people living in small towns? American exceptionalism is a myth. It's a myth. It's a myth. And it's a myth that's killing us. It's a myth that's killing us. I've seen it. I've been to Nevada, not to Las Vegas. I've been to Las Vegas, but that ain't what I'm talking about. I'm talking about in the desert where people actually live off the grid in holes with tents over them. This country is killing people and telling them that you deserve to pay higher price for gas because it's patriotic. Oh, by the way, your president needs $1 billion ballroom for something you will never go to. Oh, by the way, your president needs an art in DC with his name on it. Your president spends $13 million on painting us on a reflecting pool that never was supposed to be painted for a no bid contract for one of his friends. And you starving and paying more for gas and paying higher 16% is what the increase, the insurance increase for no reason other than Donald Trump wanted to spit in the face or try to spite Obama. Obama's going to be fine. His health care is good for the rest of his life. It's free. But Donald Trump wanted to spite Obamacare, and it's costing people, even the people that voted for him. But what y'all forget is it was poor white people that wasn't benefiting from white supremacy during slavery. But they were allowed to feel that they were one step above black people because they weren't enslaved. Still starving, still without anything, didn't have their basic needs met, but they had whiteness on their sleeve. And that was enough to keep them happy. Donald Trump, starving white people right now. Some of the white people in Appalachia are starving. And they still swear Donald Trump is the best. Donald Trump has owned this economy since he got in. Donald Trump told lies. Day one, he was going to end the Russian war. Day one, there would be no new wars. He didn't have two new wars. He's going to fix the economy. Inflation's through the roof. Food costs more. Stupid ass tariffs that now the government is trying to figure out how to pay back. Y'all ain't talking about that. Why is that not front page on CNN, MSNBC, and all these other news channels? The fact that our government is now responsible to pay back all this dumbass money. Where y'all Donald Trump checks at? Where your Donald Trump checks at? The only person getting a Donald Trump check is Donald Trump and somebody whose last name ends in Trump. That's it. It was never for you. It was never about you. The man came into power and released everybody responsible for January 6th. Every single person pardoned. The one person who was locked up for Jeffrey Epstein, taken out of real prison and put in a damn vacation spot. They said she get a damn dog when she want to see it. They bring a dog there. She orders food. She's in a position that no person convicted for what she was convicted of has ever received. Just to cover up the fact that Donald Trump had close ties to Jeffrey Epstein and whatever else she's covering up for them. Donald Trump don't give a fuck about America. Donald Trump is about to put a real estate guy, because this person is loyal to him, in charge of DNI. About to be in charge of all of the intelligence, all 17 or 13, how many other agencies they are in this country. He's about to put a real estate guy in charge of that. What y'all talking about? Who y'all talking about? This y'all Donald Trump? Ain't nothing exceptional about this country. Nobody. It actually is against the law for anybody to be sworn in. The regulations, the job qualifications to be in charge, director of national intelligence, says that you have to have extensive. Shall is a legal term that means it's required. Shall is a legal term that means it must happen. It says this person shall have extensive intelligence background. This person has none. Yet Donald Trump is about to appoint him as acting director of intelligence. This position was created, guys, ladies, non-binary people. This position was created after 9/11 because people weren't communicating, so they needed something to make sure that people talk. Intelligence agencies talk to each other and they give the brief. This guy will be in charge of the brief. And he can't even get a fucking job at Remax, but now he's gonna be running America's deep. Man, we ain't exceptional. We exceptionally stupid and arrogant. And it's gonna be the cause of our downfall. It's gonna be the reason we fail, y'all. I'm telling you, we need to get serious about what our politics is. And can we all agree on one thing? Let's stop calling anybody that we didn't name as our leader or a leader in our community, and that's for all of our communities. If you didn't name that person a leader, don't let people call them that. It don't matter if the internet say you're nitpicking or you're problematic. If you know that person ain't speaking truth to power about what's plaguing your community, stop that person from being called a leader, because that's why and how we got here. There's always been a Donald Trump in the audience waiting for this time, waiting for this moment. But it's because of lack of activation on our side, the lack of spines, the lack of ability to reach people who didn't see themselves in our politics is the reason that Donald Trump could win. Because if we were doing what we were supposed to do, his populist message would have taken off. It wouldn't have caught on if the world wasn't icing out the Elizabeth Warrens and the Warrens of the world, or the Bernie Sanders of the world. If these people weren't made to be extremists when they were talking about people deserve a livable wage, when we was talking about universal health care, if that wasn't extreme ideas on our side, then we wouldn't have lost so many people in the politics of it all. In the political shuffle is what I was about to say. Now we have news, we have media acting like they're part of the political arm. CBS just fired Scott. How you fire Scott Pelley? Because he stood up to the billionaires about to buy him. The news situation in America looks just like that show off of Apple TV. It's called Morning Show, The Morning Show or something like that. It's starting to mimic that. Even the names are starting to look the same. The dude that took over was Ellis. The Ellison family buying up media. CBS just fired Scott Pelley. Wasn't Steve Colbert on the CBS too? It's a fact, bro. Yeah. Shout out Zanzibar and all the Swahili people there and all the people, they're not just the Swahilis, but they definitely scream Hakuna Matata and keep moving because people think Hakuna Matata was something Disney created and not knowing that it's a Swahili term for sure. I'm frustrated that our politics is so childish that we let media determine what should be, and they're showing up right now just like soap operas, and the news channels are more concerned with entertaining people than educating people. If you don't believe me, think about CNN got a new show that they're gonna be streaming, and it's called Actor on Actor. You got actors, rich people interviewing rich people about rich people shit. At this moment in this world, they launched that show. People want to be entertained. People don't want to be educated. Donald Trump is trying to teach you all that you don't need to be educated. He said, don't be woke. And he's trying to defund PBS. Big Bird is a problem. In real life, this is what's happening in our country. And people out here are pretending that people who are struggling don't have the right to question our politics. You got the NAACP telling the largest black organization, supposedly member organization in this country, telling people to tell your kids don't go to school. They ain't asked nothing of rich basketball players, football players, no, nothing famous. They ain't asked nothing of nobody famous. They ain't tell Tyler Perry to complain or do nothing. But they want first generation black boys to not go play football when they spent their entire life staying out of trouble, as hard as that is in this country for black men, because this country targets us. We have no political foundational infrastructure that is meant to free us. So don't let people call you themselves your leader. Don't let these people play games with that title. If you ain't call them your leader, if you ain't name them a leader in your community, don't go with that shit. We don't need to be a cult just because they're a cult. And I mean it. And for me, what breaks my heart is, yeah, white male mediocrity is a thing. What breaks my heart is so many people that buy into this white male mediocrity. Some of them black. Some of them black. And we can't question the system, or there's a certain way we have to do it. And then all of a sudden, when it starts threatening their way of life, then they want to act like they're radical. What are you talking about, Mandel? Say it plain. James Clyburn ain't protested. When George Floyd was killed, you know what James Clyburn did? Him and the white people and the other people in Congress let Nancy Pelosi and them convince them to put on kente cloths and take a knee. They put on kente cloths and took a damn knee in the Capitol. They ain't passed no legislation. They ain't go after, they ain't forced, they ain't use their power to do nothing. They put on kente cloth around their damn neck and took a damn knee. As soon as he thought the Republicans were about to redraw his district in South Carolina, he went and got arrested and started talking tough. He even said a curse word on TV. You ain't protest what's his stance on this black boy right here, Cyrus, who just got killed in his state? Why the hell is he silent about this outcome, this verdict? Where was he at when Sandra Bland was murdered? Why he in protest? Why he in protest the Democrats putting another white man in charge of the DNC? That sounds crazy to me. I ain't against white men. I don't understand how white men are going to lead us through this moment. But that's what Democrats went back to. Ain't nobody screaming about that. In this moment, y'all keep telling us that the black women are the lifeline of this party. Why we ain't got no black woman that's damn running the DNC right now? If black people are voting more than anybody else, how many black women are running all of the auxiliaries for our party? By auxiliaries, I mean the DCCC, that's the organization that elect people to Congress. The DS, people that elect people to the Senate. The DGA, that's the Governors Association. The Lieutenant Governors Association, Secretary of State organization. Which one of them black? Where? Where are demands? Our demand, the demand that we came up with, the boycott that we came up with is tell the black boys don't go play football. You're going to pay them not to go? You're going to make sure that they don't get blackballed when it comes to the time to go to the NFL, when it's time to get drafted? You're going to make sure that they get money to supplement them? Because these are first generation college kids from low income families. Come on, man. Y'all, we get what we demand. When we let people speak on our behalf because they're popular on the internet or they said something funny and they're famous for being funny, but now they're creating and driving our politics, and it's this, ain't nothing about that funny. I ain't laughing about a single thing because I don't understand why it would be funny. The current state of our politics, and I ain't even talking about the racism on the right that exists. I'm talking about the problems on our side of the aisle. And we believe this far, we're less than 200 days from the election, and we still ain't figured out that what we've been doing has not been working. And we're preparing to run a similar ass campaign with different candidates. I said to someone who's a mover and shaker in North Carolina politics, I said, yo, you need to reach out to the governor, who's the last governor, who's now running for Senate, and make sure that they're not running a traditional campaign. And the person said to me, yeah, right. Meaning, you know who their consultant is. You know, ain't no way in hell they're not going to run a traditional campaign. That's a tragic situation. All I'm going to say is running a traditional campaign cost Sherry Beasley her election. Sherry Beasley should have won North Carolina. The idea to go with that Washington, D.C. strategy cost us that state, that Senate seat. Running a traditional campaign has made Mississippi a red state. Georgia a red state, or a mixed state. That's what they want to call it. Florida a red state. If we invest in ways and people from our communities in ways that we know that can move our people, the outcome will be completely different. But the way that they've invested in the infrastructure that they did not create has left us to believe that southern states are the reddest states and impossible to win. But that is only impossible. They are only impossible to win when you play by their rule book. We need to reject their strategies because they don't work for us. They don't work for us as candidates. They don't work for us as voters. And they definitely don't work for us as people trying to unelect incumbents. I'm just telling you. I'm just running my mouth because I don't think people believe me. You bring your criticisms. I bet you all your criticisms fall flat because you can't say that my facts are. Oh, you can't tell me there's a different set of facts. You cannot like me. You cannot like me. But what I'm saying is not the reason we keep losing elections that we shouldn't lose. What I'm saying It's facts. I outperformed Sherry Beasley. I outperformed Sherry Beasley's Senate race that spent tens of millions of dollars. I ain't spent a dime on an advertisement. I outperformed them in my district by a lot. When she was on the ballot, when I was on the ballot, by a lot. She was the Senate candidate. How you get outperformed by a mayor? That shit don't. Their campaigns don't. Their strategies don't work. It's dead. They run campaigns like it's 1970, calling people's phone. Matter of fact, calling these young voters is a disservice. Why are you calling these people? They don't know you. What's this? Is this Ngu Day or is that Ngun Day? 2003. We do. I'm in Oakland, California, and believe this is the time we can move like this with more people power. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, listen, let's be clear, and people might say this sounds like Wakanda, but or Black Panther, but Oakland, it really is the center of the universe. I love Oakland. I love everything about like how out loud Black people live in that space, and it didn't just happen. I mean, like that is a muscle that has been built over time. That's why it's home to the Black Panthers. I think people forget that, you know. So yeah, Oakland's been living out loud for a long time. And if you don't believe me that Republicans can be against or will be against gun rights, look at what happened when Stokely Carmichael and the rest of the Panthers showed up to the capital of California with guns, with shotguns. Ronald Reagan, and the Republicans there passed gun regulation. They call it the Munford Act, and immediately passed the Munford Act to say that to stop that. They were afraid of them Black folks with guns. So don't think these good everything. I don't just talk about race because it's disconnected or I'm trying to make everything about race. They already did that for you. I'm just painting a picture. Ain't none of this shit disconnected. When have you heard the NRA speak up on behalf of any Black person with a gun? The sister who had an abusive husband in Florida who shot a warning shot at him in the ceiling, shot in the area of her house. They gave her 20 years. But cops and people in George Zimmerman got no time for killing Trayvon. Think about that. Black lives don't have matter or don't have value in America to the system. To people, it does. To the system, it does not. To some people, I should say. And I don't know if we are grown enough in our politics to acknowledge the failures. Some of it comes from us being inactive in our strategy or who we let the world call our leader. We need to start. What needs to be trending is hashtag that ain't our leader. Hashtag that person don't lead shit. Hashtag who said so. Hashtag fuck out of here. And then we also should normalize rejecting people coming into our communities to knock on doors that don't have no relationship. Send them away and say, go tell your candidate to come back. We haven't seen your candidate. Your candidate owed us some commitments before you can knock on our door and ask us for our votes. Tell them to come see us, not their bullshit ass dedicated Black person or their so-called Black spokesman. Bring their ass to our neighborhood and speak to us and let our folk tell them directly what our issue is. We know candidates can't go everywhere, but they damn sure can go some places, and we ain't seen them some places when it comes to our issues in our communities. That happens only because we allow it. Strategies are outdated. I broke the GOP box in my city registering felonies. Social media campaign, TikTok, Facebook, etc., going to get voters, etc. And I have been under investigation ever since. Made history as a black woman, and all skin folk ain't kinfolk. That's a fact. All skin folk ain't kinfolk, and we should never pretend that they are. I want to just a point of clarity. Nipsey Hussle said this when he made the song "Fuck Donald Trump." Him and what's the other brother name? Nipsey and YG. When they on in 2015, 2016. That a lot of people don't know that just because you have a conviction or you run into the systems, you still can vote. And I know that sounds like, of course you can, but a lot of people believe simply because they have a felony conviction, they can never vote again. That is not the case. And if you are justice system impacted and you have a felony conviction, reach out to me. I'll find out what state you're in, and I could definitely show you the process of getting your rights restored to vote. Because as long as you're not on probation or parole, in some states you can still be on probation or parole as long as you're not in prison. And actually, in some states, even if you are in prison, you still can vote. But unfortunately, they usually save for the whitest of states, like Vermont. Vermont, people on death row can vote. People in prison can vote regularly every election. They got super voters in prison in Vermont because a white senator said, and that is the one of the whitest states, less than 1% of the population of Vermont is black. Less than 1%. A senator said what? He said, the vote is so critical to being a citizen that no one should ever lose their right to vote. Of course, that was for his state. That's not how they feel about brothers in Mississippi or Florida, North Carolina, or Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas. I'm just trying to tell you, we suffer because we don't want to take ownership of what's ours. And I'm not talking about the people that are struggling or living on the margins, but there are some of us that are not doing what we can be doing. And I challenge people to understand that it has never been a majority of black people that have been working on behalf of black people. It is always a small percentage doing the work. It has always been and it always will be. But if that percentage is powerful and consistent, it is enough. It is enough. We just got to stop being so reactionary and sit down and create strategy that leads to infrastructure that builds muscle memory for our people, and then start addressing some of the problems that's plaguing our people. And then it does not matter what Republicans do on their racist side, because we have built work and commitment and trust with our voters that they're going to show up. But until those things exist, our voters will continue to look at us with skepticism. And they because the system is failing them in a way that is uniquely black in America. This is especially the case for black men in these United States. We should not deny the fact that we are seeing something that cannot be explained other than to name it as systemic racism and anti-black man shit. That is a fact. That is a fact that we all must deal with. And I am willing to call it out, not just tonight, but every night. This is why I speak with a raspy ass voice, because I rarely keep my voice. And my wife tells me so much. Every time you go somewhere and come back, you have lost your voice. I'm telling you, we have work to do. We can do it. We just got to be brave enough to do it. And make sure we charge up people who call themselves our leader. I'm Mondale Robinson. This is it for the night, but you'll see me soon. All right. I love y'all. Peace and stay whatever you are.